Spoilers, they be about the place. Well lads, we are finally there. After 2 movie films, one of which didn't really even include him, besides that little bit at the end I guess, we are finally at the Friday the 13th film that will give us Jason's iconic look. And would you believe it, it's in feckin' 3D as well. What does this new dimension and updated look for Jason have in store for us? Well, let's find out as we sit back, relax, and horse our favourite snacks into ourselves while hitting the like button and the subscribe one before we go back to Camp Crystal Lake to see Jason don his iconic hockey mask for the first time. The movie film begins with 5 minutes of Friday the 13th Part 2. Are you fucking serious? 5 whole minutes of the last film, and the only bit of new footage is that we are shown Jason survived the attack from Jenny. Christ, this isn't off to a good start, is it? Anyway, after some credits, we find out that this film is already lying to us, as this takes place the day after the second film, which would make it Saturday the 14th. Jason is back stalking about the place and ends up making this random lad, #dust, and then kills his wife too. Anyway, we meet our newest cast of victims, Chris, Debbie and Andy. But fuck, they have some Michael Myers looking lad sneaking up behind them.
Ah! God damn it, Shirley, why do you always have to be such an asshole?
Oh Jesus, they actually know this feckin' weirdo. Shelley here is a fucking freak altogether, who loves a good prank, but doesn't seem to know when he's pushing things too far. Everyone is here to pick up Verna, who is Shelley's date.
So, which one's my date?
Hi.
Oh, that poor girl. But wait, we have 2 more characters to meet. These 2 feckin' stoners, Chuck and Chili. And these 2 are going to get up to all sorts of smoking during this weekend away.
Is that all you 2 are gonna do this weekend?
Smoke dope?
Why not, man? Is there a law against it? There are better things to do with your life.
Says the fucking lad who goes around dressed like a nut job sneaking up on people. You can't say shit to anyone, Shelley. The kids, or 40-year-olds, as some of these look well past their teens, are on their way to Crystal Lake. You know, the place that had a mass killing happen the night before, which no one seems to know or care about? Anyway, they come across this random lad who was just having some sleepy time in the middle of the road. Ah, so it turns out he's a replacement crazy lad for that daft bastard Ralph from the first 2 films, as he gives them a mysterious warning before freaking them the fuck out by whipping a feckin' eyeball out of his pocket. And then he sticks this eyeball down the lens for some spooky 3D effects. This is embarrassing. They get to the lake and Chris, who is clearly going to be our final girl, decides to have a look around the house, where she instantly gets sexually assaulted.
Rick!
My imagination, or did it just get cold in here?
This clearly 40-year-old looking perv is Rick, and he has a thing for Chris, but she doesn't really know if she wants a slice of him or not. Later on that day, Rick gets his shirt off and does some hard work in the barn, working up a sweat and showing off his guns. He even pulls Chris up on the feckin' rope. This lad's an absolute fucking beast. All this is just to set up the barn as a location in the film. And trust me, we are going to see so much of this damn barn throughout the film. But they do end up hearing someone screaming their head off from the house. So Chris rushes over to investigate, only to find that daft bastard Shelley, #dust. The others rush in and are like, oh fuck, Shelley is dead. But wait, that prick was only joking. That would make him #undushed. And Shelley, being the socially awkward twat that he is, doesn't understand why people don't find this hilarious.
It was a joke! I didn't mean to. You never mean to.
Shelley, you really are a fucking idiot. With no one able to stand the sight of him, Shelley goes and pleads with Verna to let him come into town with her. And Verna, being the big softie she is, takes pity on the lump and tells him to hop in. Meanwhile, Chris and Debbie have gone for a bit of a walk about the place, when Debbie has to go and say something stupid like this.
Nothing's gonna happen to you when we're all here together.
Well, that's her fucking dead for sure. Shelley and Verna are in town, and Shelley the idiot reverses the car into the local gang's bikes, right in front of one of the gang members, which leads to him getting rightfully pissed off. What an epic shot that must have been to see in 3D. Avatar, eat your heart out. Shelley goes to get the fuck out of there, but decides to be a badass and runs over the guy's bike again. I mean, he's just being a prick at this point. But we'll get back to that as it's 3D yo-yo time. Why is this in the film? But these feckin' yo-yos don't know that Jason is creeping about the place at the barn. Shelley and Verna return with the bush car, and Rick is like, what the fuck happened to it? And this 40-year-old has had enough of these teenagers. Why is he even with a group of teens to begin with? Himself and Chris head off together while Jason does another spot of creeping. But he's not the only one doing a bit of creeping, as the biker gang have arrived to fuck shit up. Or to just siphon some petrol. Real badass guys these are. And for some reason, this biker Bjorn decides to just randomly wander off to the barn and then go swinging about the place.
What the hell you doing?
But then she just disappears. So of course, this other lad wanders into the barn to find her. And what happens? Well, he finds that Bjorn dushed and ends up getting a damn pitchfork in his guts for his troubles. But he does then hold it out towards the camera to get this sweet 3D shot. I'm telling you, James Cameron was crying watching this. And then, of course, Jason is going 3 for 3, so the other biker wanders into the barn as well and gets totally battered by Jason. Later that night, the teens are having an unreal party. Fuck me, these people know how to throw a wild one. Debbie and Andy go off to fool around while Shelley puts the moves of Verna. But she doesn't want a piece of him at all, so she heads out for a walk.
Sure. We'll talk. Bitch.
Way to be an incel there, Shelley. Meanwhile, Chris and Rick are having a heart-to-heart where we learn some of the backstory for Chris. She got in a fight with her parents a few years back and decided to go run off into the woods, and she went sleepy time. But what ended up happening to her? Well, Jason attacked her, but it turns out he wasn't that great of a killer back then, as she just blacked out and went sleepy time again, but mysteriously woke up in her own bed. This all sounds like a very shit Nightmare on Elm Street film, and not what Jason does. He would have just killed her. The car battery dies, so the two of them decide to head off, walking back to the cabin. Over at the dock, Verna is suddenly grabbed by Jason. Fuck, he's going to kill her. Oh wait, it's just that twat Shelley again. He scared the bejesus out of Verna, who tells him to stop being such a tool, which he gets upset about and wanders off sulking. But hey look, he has Jason's famous hockey mask, so I bet we all know where this is going. Yep, that's right. It's Shelley's turn to wander over to the fucking barn. A while later, back at the lake, Verna is trying to fish a wallet out of the water when we get to finally see the Jason we all know and love. Not the most cinematic entrance ever, is it? But then, I guess they didn't know how iconic this look for the character would become. Anyway, Jason makes Verna #dush and then just casually strolls away, but his spot of riding senses are tingling, causing him to stop and stare at the house, as he knows these two are getting up to no good together. Debbie goes for a shower, while this idiot Andy goes around doing a handstand walk. This is so weird, and Jason is having none of this tomfoolery. Well, he won't be using that dick again, I can tell you that. Debbie goes to lie in the hammock, but then finds Andy just hanging about the place above her, dushed, and then Jason strikes. Fuck, that was a nasty enough kill. Over in the kitchen, Chili opens the door to Shelley, who she thinks is pulling a prank again.
Nice makeup job.
But he's not. How is he even still alive with his throat slashed open like that? He'd have been dead ages ago. Chuck, meanwhile, has gone to check on the power, where he ends up killed by Jason. This electricity seems to run off Hippie. And Chili finally realizes Shelley is dushed and freaks the fuck out. But then she finds her other friends fucking dead too. So she's like, what the fuck is going on? She goes to leave, but the feckin' wind blows a door open. So she runs away from it right into the giant man with the hot fire poker. How the hell did she not see the lad when she turned around? He's fucking huge. Anyway, Chris and Rick show up at the cabin, but no one is about the place at all. So Rick goes and says he will do the dumbest thing you can during a horror film.
Well, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna go outside and take a look around.
And what ends up happening to him? Well, he gets his feckin' head squished, which causes him to turn into a dummy that has its eye popped out. Chris goes off looking for Rick, and guess where she starts with? That's right, the feckin' barn. But then Jason ruins it by playing an old favorite of the series. Chris runs back in, absolutely terrified, and starts screaming for Rick, who just decides to pop in. Jason then hops in the window and slowly chases Chris, but she busts the head off him with a bookcase. She then does go to hide, but of course finds one of her dead friends and screams her head off, which allows Jason to find her. But Chris is no damsel in distress, so she does take a knife from her friend's corpse and stabs the shit out of Jason, and then starts swinging it madly at him. Jason is clearly scared of tiny knives. She manages to stab the prick in the leg, and just when it looks like she's gotten away from him, the bastard goes and rips her lovely top, which pisses Chris right off. So when Jason comes outside, she smashes him over the head with a big feckin' log. Jesus, he went down like a sack of shite. Chris jumps in the car, and we somehow don't have the classic car won't start scene. But remember those biker lads siphoned off all the petrol earlier, so Chris ain't getting feckin' anywhere for long. With Jason giving chase again, Chris legs it back to where else? Is it option A, the barn? Option B, the fucking barn? Or option C, the fucking barn? If you guessed the barn, then you are feckin' right. Jason comes in, but he can't find Chris at all because she is like feckin' Spidey Woman and is up in the rafters. She drops down on his feckin' head, but this damn movie won't let her get out of the fucking barn and away from Jason. So she manages to get away from him and hides upstairs, and even though she's done this to him before, Jason the big dope doesn't think to look around and gets smashed in the head again. With Jason knocked out, Chris proves she's one of the smarter final girls as she finally tries to kill this fecker by hanging him. See? Now that's a smart character. She goes to get the hell out of that damn barn, but wouldn't you feckin' know it, that Divil Jason isn't dead at all. He then takes off his mask to show his face to kinda say, remember me? He hops down and it looks like it's all over for Chris, but then, out of fucking nowhere, the biker lad who I thought was dead comes back and gets his feckin' hand cut off and then just gets cut to pieces. That was so fucking random. And Jason really isn't messing around this time. He's really making sure that guy is fucking dead. But he should have been paying attention to Chris, as now he's gonna get an axe right to the noggin. But fuck, it's turned him into Frankenstein's monster. That is, until he stumbles a bit and falls to the ground, making him #dushed. And Chris finally gets out of the feckin' barn, but decides it's best to go into this boat for a spot of sleepy time. The next day she wakes up like someone with a really bad hangover. Only to see Jason is feckin' sound and back in the house. She tries to get the fuck out of there, but it turns out that it's all been in her head. But then, out of fucking nowhere, Mrs. Voorhees springs from the lake and grabs her. What the fuck? What a random ending. Wait, what's happening? Oh my fucking god, it was another dream sequence. Are you fucking kidding me? Why can't this damn series do proper endings? Anyway, the cops take Chris away to safety, but she's gone a bit nuts from seeing her friends get killed. And with that, the movie film is dushed. So does the first appearance of Jason in his iconic hockey mask hold up? Well, let's dive in and start with the positives for this film. This film definitely has more of a charm to it than the first two films. There's just something about the tone and vibe in this one that makes it much more fun to watch than the first two. I don't know if it's due to the characters, Jason, or the kills in it that makes it better than the previous two for me personally. This is where Jason started to fully form as a character, as we get to see a lot more of him in this film. And he finally has the hockey mask look in this film, so that does play into the nostalgia I have for this entry. The hockey mask is so simple, but it just works so well for him. Much better than the sack head in the second film. And he isn't anywhere near as clumsy as he was in part 2, where he kept falling over the whole time. He feels like a real threat in this one. And like I said, this film has some fun kills in it. There is the harpoon bit, the eye pop, even if it looks a bit off, the knife through the hammock, and that idiot handstanding about the place and getting hit right in the dick by Jason. I even like the characters in this film more than the first two. They seem to have a bit more personality to them and actually given more backstory, especially Chris, who I find to be a pretty smart final girl. Here, Chris is like, fuck this lad, and tries to hang him. She doesn't just leave him there to come after her again. She actually takes action against him. I also don't mind the character of Shelly, mostly because he's so fucking weird. He's just so goofy that he stood out to me, and I kind of liked him. There isn't also a massive amount of padding in this film compared to the first two, although the beginning of it is quite slow, but once it gets going, the film moves along at a great speed and never leaves you sitting there thinking, Christ, move on to fuck. The film just feels much better made than the first two, and knows exactly why people are coming to watch these films, to see Jason fuck some people up. But let's move on to the negatives for this film. While I said there isn't much padding in the film, it's still getting knocked for having the first 5 minutes of this film being a recap of part 2. Just like in part 2, they waste time with this. These films are not complicated, and part 2 had come out like a year before this film. I don't think fans would be confused as to what happened. It's incredibly lazy filmmaking and just used to pad out the film to get it to 90 minutes. I hope they stop this crack in part 4 cause it's getting so annoying. This was filmed to be shown in 3D, and it has terrible moments of things being pointed at the camera. It's also cheesy, but then it was 80s 3D, so I guess I can't fault it too much. But it's very dated watching it now. They clearly didn't have the tech to make 3D not cringe, and it shows. A massive downside to this film, and it's clear it's due to the budget, is that a massive amount of this film takes place in the barn. Like, honestly, I thought every person was just going to walk into this barn one by one and be killed. It's like the barn is the real source of evil in this film instead of Jason. Whenever it's not set in the barn, you are like, oh thank God, somewhere different. Now, just a bit on Chris's backstory. Why didn't Jason kill Chris when she said he attacked her in the past? That is basically all this lad does. It's so strange that he seemed to just attack her, but just knocked her out. Now, he might have done other things to her, but that really isn't something Jason does. He's just a straight killer, so it's odd to add it in here. I know it's to give Chris a bit of an interesting backstory, but it doesn't really mesh with the rest of the films. And the damn dream ending. Like, yeah, the jump scare at the end makes no sense, but for God's sake, just end it there. The whole dream sequence thing is a joke at this point, and I can't believe they are still at it in part 3. Anyway, in conclusion, I thought this film was a lot more fun than the first two, and it also gave us the iconic Jason look, but it still is your kind of generic slasher film, so I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 3 2.5 out of 5 Horshes. So what do you think of Friday the 13th Part 3? Do you enjoy it as good old slasher fun, or is this one sequel you hate? Let me know in the comments down below, and remember to hit the like button, and I'll see you next time when we horse into another movie film.